Who Day, and I am just excited.
I'm excited to sit here. Y'all can't see all my Saints fans.
To show the Hall of Fame quarterback that he can get back to when he was a number 4 overall pick.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Wait, this is me tonight. Yeah.
There you go. I was like, oh, I hope Andrew knows he's got to give me the yeah tonight.
Struck me last week.
Happy birthday, America. It is the 4th of July, and we are actually busy celebrating because we pre-taped this the night prior. But either way, I hope you guys are enjoying it. And happy 4th of July to all of you out there. Please stay safe. Let's get the introduction started. We'll go first to my co-host, Andrew LeDuc, Mr. Sophistication himself. Welcome into the studio.
Happy 4th. Always happy to be here. And I'll be celebrating my 4th of July with a bring your own pool party. Yes, we are. My family likes to do it up with everyone brings their own inflatable pool. And we all sit in our own pool in the backyard and drink and eat.
Okay, I love it. Well, see, I'm down here in Florida, so we got our own like in the ground pool. But I'm with you, man. Enjoy. You guys enjoy that 4th of July. Let's get our guest in the house tonight because we talking Vikings and Lions tonight. First, representing the Lions in the blue corner, it's Ryan. Welcome into the studio, sir.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on here.
Now, we appreciate you as always, my friends. Good to have you back. And then in the purple corner, representing the Vikings, we got Phil in the house. Welcome into the studio.
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you having me. Should be a lot of fun. Talk some football in the dog days of summer here.
Absolutely. We love doing this because this gets us prepped up for the fantasy season and really for the NFL season, really get to know the insides and out of every team. So that's why we're here. Let's pay the bills first. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a solid. Give us a like, throw a comment in. Fortunately, I can't read them until tomorrow. Hit that notification bell. Little things stopping you from doing it. Big things popping for us when you do. So we appreciate you for that. Also, Fast Draft app. Don't forget, go get on that today. Use that promo code TSS. We're going to double your deposit up to $50. Hello. That's $100 to win some good stuff. So make sure you check that out. If you're looking for some championship bling, because those drafts are right around the corner, get your orders in today. Look no further than Pro-Am Belts. Lots of great bling for your fantasy champion. And also, don't forget Ultra Draft GM. Lots of good stuff on there. We're going to have the guy who runs the app come on and have a discussion about how that actually works, because I'm even still a little confused. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, we got a lot to cover tonight, so we are super excited. Let's pack it up, pack it in. Let us begin, and let's get the summer rewind. All right. Well, we always begin talking about the off season. Lots of great stuff that happened. Maybe you think there's stuff that wasn't good happen as well. We'll start with Ryan first, and let's go to free agency. Do me a solid. Give me a grade for your free agency this off season, and tell me about the guys you like and or didn't like that have come on or have left.
I would say, to be honest on that, I'd say probably a good B-. It's just because, we lost a couple offensive linemen. We lost Ragnow to retirement. Zeitler went down to Tennessee. So it's a couple offensive linemen that dropped. But we did sign DJ Reed, who definitely fills that solid cornerback that we've actually needed, because seeing what Terry Arnold has been doing as a rookie was not exactly up to par, or what people would say would be a first-round grade cornerback. But again, a lot of people don't understand that cornerback's a hard position to transition to from college to pro. So I give it a B- on that because they kind of also re-signed a lot of their in-house players to kind of keep the nucleus intact. So give them that not too high of a grade, but not too low of a grade, more of a average grade on that. So I like with what they did. I think it's good moves, but we'll see how it all plays out this fall now, especially with new offensive and defensive coordinators.
Yeah, I was going to say that was probably, I was looking at the losses from your team. I mean, more, like you mentioned the offensive linemen, some defense in there as well. But the biggest, I think, losses for you guys was the absence now of your offensive and defensive coordinators. But Dan Campbell's the man. They still got a little statue down in Miami in the parking lot for Dan Campbell. So, I know he can make it up, but I think that's probably one of the biggest losses for the Lions this offseason. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like they went 15-2 last season we saw, but I can definitely see them taking a step back wins-wise. Like I could see 10 wins. But, I'd be more realistic. I'd say, oh, yeah, they get 12 easily, but more down to 10. So they'll take a little step back, but I still think this offense will definitely be moving and grooving.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like, doing these shows and looking at the additions of defense. It's just like down the line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 additions, new additions to the to the defense. Well, I take that back. Some of those were re-signed, so that's my bad, not reading that correctly. But still, a lot of work in the offseason for the defense with Aaron Glenn now gone. All right, let's go to our man Bill. What is up? Let's talk about those Vikings and talk about their free agency. Give me a grade on what you thought they did during the offseason and talk about some of the guys you like and didn't like.
Yeah, it's funny on the podcast that me and the boys do. We always we try to keep everything, we'll let you know if they're bad. We'll let you know if they're good. We don't do the whole, like, we're just going to drink the Kool-Aid the whole time and just praise them. But that being said, I'm going to drink some Kool-Aid here because I think everything we needed to address in free agency, we did. Like, I think it's an A grade in free agency. Kwesi went out there. He knew in the trenches we had problems. You saw we lost to the Rams in the wild card game, and we got just smoked. They had tied the record for most sacks in the game at 9, and we couldn't keep a healthy offensive lineman on the field. So signing Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, I think is huge from Indy. We have 2 really great tackles, but up the middle on our offensive line has just been it hasn't really been a who's who of who's out there. So getting those 2 guys in there, I think, is huge to go with the 2 good tackles. And then on the defensive side, Jonathan Allen from Washington and Javon Hargrave from the Niners. We'll see if he can stay healthy. But I think that getting those guys in is going to be really big for the trenches on both sides.
Yeah, my biggest question is, how do you feel about the loss of Sam Darnold? Because all last year, all I kept saying was, man, I'm just waiting for the other foot to drop on Sam Darnold. I feel like when the moment is too big, he slinks down a bit. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we kept talking about it all year. Like you said, when is that other shoe going to drop? And it just never seemed to happen until the last 2 games of the season. And then you really just saw, I mean, when we played, Ryan could attest this, when we played Detroit, final game of the season, their defense was not healthy. There was a lot of just random guys in there playing, and they were getting to him.
Which defense? Because both our defenses were struggling at the end there.
Yeah,
so,
right. No, it like he had chances in the Lions game to make throws, and I don't know if it was just if he had the yips. Like I know in baseball, second basemen get the yips sometimes and just sail the ball, and it seemed like that's what was happening with him. And to get the money he got, kudos to him. Like, way to go get a bag, but that was never going to be a part of our plan bringing him back.
I was saying I was good on you. Is all I got to say. All right, let's go to the draft now. Fast forward a little bit to April, and we got into the draft. What do you think, Ryan? Let's go to you on the Lions draft. What do you grade it, and give me some of the guys you like and didn't like.
So, like, I look at the draft, and people will say, like, and I still hear it to this day on the radio because I live in the Detroit area. Why did we wait so long to take defensive end? Why didn't we take one of those guys up in the first round? Why didn't we take one in the second round? Why did we wait all the way to the sixth round to get a defensive end? And to look at it, it's Brad Holmes even said, because I even questioned some of it during the draft. I'm like, oh man, it's the perfect time to get some stellar like players right now. Let's get this defensive end here. Nope, they pass on him. They take a different guy. And the way Brad Holmes looks at it is, he's not just building for now; he's building for tomorrow, the future, and so on and so forth. And then the more I look into his draft, I try to understand it better. I actually like it quite a bit, especially with Tyreek Williams going in the first round. Get a defensive lineman, bolster the defensive line, especially go up against someone like, let's say, the Minnesota Vikings with their good offensive line they have. You need someone to fire up the middle, fire those gaps. Definitely a solid play to get, especially for a player who would be, you're kind of looking at like DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil. This is kind of like a Aleem McNeil replacement is how I look at it as, seeing him coming in. So, you have that first round pick, and it's not about, being a first round pick. It's about plays. The more plays you get out there, the better off you're going to be. And then, you think second round, you think they still continue to go defense because of all the struggles they had on defense. And that's when they go offensive lineman, Tate Ratledge, 57th overall. And this kind of made more sense once we heard about Zeitler retiring. So with retirement going in, now they're kind of moving Ratledge to center to try him out there over Glasgow. See the choice between him and Glasgow right now. So you kind of see the writing was kind of on the wall on that one. So kind of they're forcing him to kind of jump up. But one pick that I did question a lot was their next one with Isaac Tesla. All the third round picks to trade for him. And I'm like, this pick doesn't make any sense because it's like you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Jameson Williams, you have Khalif Raymond, you have what's the other guy? Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
And then I look at the players, I'm like, oh, these guys are all on 1-year deals. And then there's no guarantee with what we're going to do with Jameson Williams. So Isaac Tesla could possibly be that number 3 off the bat, or it could definitely be the number 3 by next season, depending on how everything goes this year, especially with the Lions offseason for the next year as we're already looking at it. And then they have another pick till later in the draft where it was just kind of offensive lineman here, defensive lineman there, and then just bench fathers, something that could fill pieces in special teams. So.
Yeah, I guess that's the Dominic Lovett pick in the 7th round from Georgia. Probably more of the special teams aspect of it. I'm glad you brought up Isaac Tesla because I'm like, is that actually pronounced Tesla? Like, yeah. So I was wondering the same thing, though. I'm like, why are they looking at receivers? Seem pretty stacked there. But maybe they see something scheme-wise that they can fill him in. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Phil, before I get to your draft, I just wanted to bring up one thing. Last year, when we did the Lions show, I was asking them specifically about their defense, and I think we talked about free agency. Not one person mentioned my boy, man, Ginkle, and I made it a point to tell them you're gonna love Mr. Van Ginkle. I affectionately call him Ginky. So my question to you is, why just a 1-year deal in the offseason for him? I think he showed last year he definitely is a playmaker on the field. Why do you think that is?
Well, wasn't it an extension? Didn't they sign?
You know what? You're so right. I'm reading. that's me again, reading it wrong. Keeping him for 2026. Man, well, why?
That's right. That's all right. Guess keep the hosts humble.
Yeah, no, please. Absolutely.
Hey, my research is pretty limited as well. So like, we love Van Ginkle, man. Like he is. I'm trying to figure out, does anybody that's on these opposing teams do any sort of scouting? Because how many times are you just going to throw a screen pass and this guy's going to take it to the house? It's unbelievable. No, he's great, and I think like him in the Flores system for one more year. We keep thinking Flores is going to get a head coaching job at some point, and he must just be on the blacklist still. And we will take it, because seeing these guys develop like Van Ginkel, we're kind of still waiting on Dallas Turner, and all these guys develop through that system over a couple of years. We really like to see that. Yeah,
that year that Flores ran the defense here in New England was probably the most fun I've had watching our defense in a long time. They were just all over the place. They were flying around. I loved it.
Many a games on America's team, the Miami Dolphins, when Flores was there. I mean, he blitzes a lot, and it was such a transition when he left, because I felt like they didn't blitz enough. And there was just times where it was like, man, the quarterback's got no chance. And every time they would line Van Ginkel up at different spots, but every damn time they put him on the end, he was in there every damn time. That's why I was so upset when he left. And that's why I'd mentioned it last season. I'm like, man, this guy is a money playmaker on the field. So I'm excited to see what he does this season.
And we do really enjoy Flores. 2022, we went from an Ed Donatel defense, which was horrendous, to going to Flores. It is just a breath of fresh air, and you see the results as they come.
Yeah, and I had some negative thoughts on Flores, only because at the time he's admitted as much, like he just didn't handle Tua correctly, and quite frankly, the guy was coming off of an injury that was much like a car accident. And here he comes in, and it's the COVID year, and everything's weird. And, hearing the stuff in the locker room, it's like, come on, bro. That guy needed Mike McDaniels. He needed someone to boost him up. And Flores just ain't that guy. But perfect for a defensive coordinator, and that's for damn sure. All right, let's get on to your draft. Give me a grade on it and tell me some of the guys you like and or didn't like.
So this is where I'll be more of a realist. I won't be drinking the Kool-Aid as much. I'm thinking for this draft, you have to take into account we only had 5 picks. We moved up to select Dallas Turner in the 2024 draft. And in part of that trade, we gave up a 3rd and 4th round pick this year. So we only had 5 picks. And 3 of them were pretty late, and I'm not a draft expert. Looking at guys in the 5th, 6th round, I don't know what I'm getting. I'm not going to lie to you. But the 1st round pick, Donovan Jackson, we talked about the offensive line already. Another guard from Ohio State to plug in up the middle across a very veteran group. I really like that pick. I mean, you guys don't know the revolving door we had for guards and center. Here in the last, decade or so. It has been a who's who of free agents, plus Bradbury, who's an undersized center. So this is a breath of fresh air to get some big guys in the middle there. And then the 3rd round, we picked a receiver, Ty Felton from Maryland. I'm looking at that probably as more of like a depth guy, but like a 4th receiver, maybe could be a 3 in the future. But other than that, I mean, it's anybody's guess after that.
110%. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Once it gets past those, we're in round 5 and 6, man. It's just like a wing and a prayer. And a lot of this, even in the first rounds, a lot of it's all about finding the right system, right team, right coach. There's a lot to it. So you never know when you're going to hit pay dirt on some of those guys. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be talking about, Ty Felton high up in our rankings during the season. You just never know. All right, so we're going to get to our second part and talk about skill position and some fantasy stuff. Before we do that, we're going to hear from our boy Brian Scott for his percent to the bench. And again, I have to apologize. Last week I was having some technical difficulties, so this didn't come through as good as it should have did. But whatever, we'll get better at it. All right, here we go. Brian Scott's percent to the bench. The doctor is in. We are Detroit Rock City tonight, talking about those Detroit Lions. What do we got for percent to the bench, Brian?
We got a defensive player on the list, Aiden Hutchinson, making it in there. Huh? Surprise, surprise. He was dealing with a fractured tibia and fibula that happened in week 6 last season, ending his season, requiring off-season surgery, or actually in-season surgery last year. But he's been fully cleared as of May, full participation in off-season workouts. Coaches say he looks really good and he's rolling with the boys, and I see no reason to think otherwise. I'll give him a 5% to the bench. He should be back to good as new. Amon Ra St. Brown, always have a hard time saying that. He had a minor knee procedure done in the offseason following last year's season, just to, quote, clean some stuff up, which ruled him out during offseason OTAs. But it's a minor procedure. They expect him back end of July for the start of training camp, and that's also per his own words. So he's on the mend, expected to be full strength come the start of the season. I see no reason to think otherwise. I'll give him a 5% chance to the bench as well. And then rounding it up, we had Jahmyr Gibbs on the list. Good news, no thing to worry about there. He is fully healthy. I expect another big season from him. No injuries to deal with in the offseason of any significance. I'm going to give him a 0% chance to the bench. That's never been heard of on the injured list before. But things could change as we get into the season, as always, with any player. So things to look out for there. But that's the Detroit Lions.
Well, you heard it here first, folks, especially if you're drafting Gibbs. You know who to talk to when he goes down. All right, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Yeah, too much echoing. That's all I got to say. All right, let's go. We talked about what was. Let's talk about what is, and let's do the season predictions.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
Some serious shit indeed. Let's start with Phil first. And let's start with the QB position. So JJ McCarthy didn't get much of a taste of him last season. Obviously injury, Sam Darnold, whatever you want to call it. How do you think he performed this season, this year, as far as yards and touchdowns? How do you think he'll do?
Well, I think one thing with him is you've been thrown in about the best position you could be as far as a rookie quarterback goes. You know, you've got 2 really good receivers. I'd mentioned the offensive line, so now the running game should take pressure off of him. Your blocking should be good. TJ Hawkinson should be back to full health here after, 2 seasons ago, tore his ACL. And then, just coming back last year, he never seemed quite right. That's a hard injury to come back from. So, I see him having a good season, especially for fantasy. When you have Justin Jefferson out there, you're going to put up numbers.
So I'm glad you brought that up as I transition to LeDuc. JD McCarthy's current ADP is 20th, and it's one of those like anomalies. We'll obviously talk about the receivers he has, who are ranked pretty high. So it's one of those weird fantasy anomalies where we're ranking receivers high, but not the QB as high, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense. But what do you think? What do you think? Current ADP, is he higher or lower?
I think his value still at 20 where he is right now, because like Phil said, this is the perfect spot. The fact that he's going to have a better offensive line, and the backfield is still intact. Like, this offense is pretty much still intact other than beefing up the offensive line. There's going to be chemistry that these guys are going to work well together. I think JJ McCarthy is going to be able to just kind of slide right into the season, feel comfortable, attack the training camp, do what he needs to do. And considering he's around guys like Trevor Lawrence, which we know what Trevor Lawrence is, Tua, who injury prone, Matthew Stafford, whose arm is falling off his body, and Drake May could have a good year too here. We'll see. But I could see him finishing closer to the 16-15 range this year, given the weapons he has around him.
Yeah, like I said, just one of those strange anomalies. He brought up Trevor Lawrence. He's another one, too. Everyone's all high on his receivers, and he's not ranking so high neither. So, all right. So what do you think, Ryan? Let's go to Jared Goff. Last year, he finished number 6th overall. Right now, his current ADP is 13th. How do you think he'll do this season?
I think we're drafting him at his peak, to be honest with you. I love Jared Goff, but looking at him, he threw – let me see here real quick. 4,629 yards, which was top 5 in the league. I think it was number 2 or 3, if I'm correct. 37 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, this team is going to have to take some sort of step back. Like you can't keep progressing forward and forward. That's not how it's going to go. Like I can see Jared Goff dropping down to 25 touchdowns. I think this team put up 60, I think, no, not 62, 68 touchdowns as a team this past season. So if he drops down, say the team drops down 15, if he drops down 25 touchdowns, which is where he's actually been basically for most of his career, I think that'd be more realistic for him. I still like Goff as a quarterback, but it's definitely going to be taking a step back, and I think we are overdrafting him compared to a player like J.J. McCarthy, who I feel like we're actually underdrafting.
Ironically, our first show of the season before we did our summer tour, we talked about guys that we thought were overvalued, and he was the one I brought up. But the more I'm, looking at, for me, the biggest thing was so much change at the top, and I felt like he has to regress some from all the changes going around. But a lot of those changes were defensively, so it almost makes me want to take that back a little bit, because if this defense struggles, then that means Jared Goff won't have to throw this football. So, I'm kind of now a little bit in between, but I feel you. There has to be some kind of regression from last season at the very least. But I do think 13th is around the right range for him. All right, Phil, let's go to you for your running back position. Aaron Jones had a decent year last year. A couple little injuries here and there, but nothing crazy. They did add Jordan Mason to the mix. But what do you think as far as your running backs go? How do you think they'll perform this season?
Yeah, I was actually surprised to see that Aaron Jones performed as well as he did last year. It was his best. I think it was his best rushing yards in his career, and it was his best total yards in his career, which was a little surprising, especially I have mentioned it many times now, the offensive line was not very good. But I do see him, like, he's going to take a little bit of a step back, bringing in Jordan Mason. We had nothing behind Jones really last year. There was some fill-in. Ty Chandler was okay. They brought in Cam Akers. They have some weird obsession with trading for him every year, and he was okay too. He provided a little bit of a spark, but Jordan Mason's young and hungry and learned a lot in San Francisco. So as far as fantasy goes, I don't think either of these guys is going to be, way up there, obviously, for running back. But Jordan Mason maybe late could be a sneaky little sleeper. Could be indeed. LeDuc, what do you think? Current ADP for last year, Aaron Jones finished 16th. That when Phil mentioned surprised, I was surprised too. I was like, damn, he was 16th last year. ADP currently is 23rd. Jordan Mason obviously filled in a little bit for McCaffrey last year, but not a ton. He was 33rd last year overall, still pretty decent, and his ADP currently is 37th. So, what do you think of those guys? Over ADP or under?
Yeah, I mean it's easy to have a good season when you got 1,500 something all-purpose yards for Aaron Jones. So that was huge for him. I think I have a slightly more updated ADP. I'm seeing him now at 26. I actually do kind of like him at the 23 number better. I feel like that's about right, but I'd say he's about right at the range. The only difference I'd make, and we'll talk about Detroit here in a second, is right now David Montgomery's going at 23rd. I'd switch the two of those. I'd put Aaron Jones at 23rd, David Montgomery 26th. That's how I would kind of rank those two out. But I think Aaron Jones is going to have another solid season. Definitely like a slight step back, just because I think the offense is going to be a bit smoother and deep, and like I think every option is just going to work out a little bit better, where they're not going to be as reliant on him around the goal line. So a slight step back, I'd say, but 23 to 26 feels right.
And I think Jordan Mason ends up being, as far as fantasy concerns, if for those Aaron Jones drafters, it'd be somebody to make sure you target a little later on, so that way you have the handcuff. Other than that, oh no, I don't know. All right, Ryan, let's go talking about those Lions running backs. We got Gibbs last year, who finished third, and his ADP right now is third, which sounds about right. David Montgomery last year finished 17th overall. And the ADP that I have is 21st is what I have him as. So what do you think? Is he are these guys going to be above or below ADP?
I don't know how much higher Gibbs can really get, because he's not a true bell cow running back compared to like Saquon Barkley and Bijan Robinson. So being more of a rotational back with Dave Montgomery, I think we're drafting him at his peak. Like, yeah, he finished as the RB3. He has to score these 16 touchdowns. He's got to get these big plays. Definitely the big PPR play. I like him a lot there. But, you have to remember, like, when Dave Montgomery went down, Gibbs was the man. And people were living glorious days when that was happening. That's how Gibbs jumped up so high. So I think we're getting him at his peak. I love the value of Dave Montgomery. I'm a huge Dave Montgomery fan as it is because he can still do what Gibbs can do, just not as fast. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He just doesn't have the moves that Gibbs has. I have a Dave Montgomery jersey. That's how much I like him. But, I mean, to get him as a solid RB2, like if you're like a zero RB type drafter, which I hate calling people zero RB drafters because let's say 5th, 6th, 7th round, that's a good time to get David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to punt running back and say, like, you know what, I'll take a guy later, he was one guy who actually would be targeting in my fantasy football drafts if I was going to punt the position in general.
Yeah,
I feel like this offense is actually going to lean more on the running game this year than the passing game.
I like it. Leduc, do you want to throw something in there? Because I know you want to talk about these guys.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's going to be definitely interesting because I think this offense is going to shift a little bit in their philosophy. We've already heard that they're going to try to throw it deep more, which sounds great for Goff, sounds great for Jameson Williams and whatnot. But unfortunately, that is going to create a situation where not all those big bang plays are going to work out. I think some more drives are going to get stalled. And Montgomery was already quite like he had a great season. He can, like you said, run, catch, all of that, but he was pretty touchdown dependent as well for most of the year. Same as Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a ton of touchdowns, which was a big part of his fantasy numbers. But I do think David Montgomery is. I think this is going to be Gibbs more separating himself from Montgomery. Like you said, Montgomery as a zero RB target, fantastic plan, but I'm definitely not going to be picking him as my RB1 in like 3rd or 4th round. That's not going to happen.
No.
Good flex option. That's what I would definitely say. And then you never know when he might be sliding into your RB1 or 2, depending if Gibbs got injured or whatnot. All right, Phil, let's go to your receivers. Now listen, I don't need to bore anyone here. We don't need to talk about Justin Jefferson. We already know where he is. Jordan Addison, the only thing with him regarding his upcoming legal issues that we might see, from what I've heard, it's maybe a 3-game suspension, which quite frankly in fantasy, that's 3 games now, plus you could mix in the bye, so that's 4 games you'll be missing from him. That's pretty much a quarter of the fantasy season. So that could be some issues, but my biggest question for you is that if we do have a Jordan Addison suspension, who is that guy we're going to look for? Is it Jalen Naylor? Who's going to be that second guy that's going to step up and replace for him? And or even if Addison isn't suspended, there's someone else on this team that we can maybe look out for.
Yeah, man, that's tough to say because we were in a similar situation. I believe I'd have to look at the game log, but I believe Addison missed a couple games to start last year, and if this would load, Jalen Naylor had 3 touchdowns in the first 3 games, but it's kind of like what you were just saying about Montgomery. He was very touchdown dependent, and he's not getting a ton of targets. I would stay away from any other receivers besides if you're talking out of those top 2. It looks like Addison July 15th has some sort of a court date.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, like you said, three games for first-time offender. Who knows what was happening in that situation? Like I think he was falling asleep on LAX or something. Like I don't know what he was getting into. But if he's healthy, he's a really good receiver.
He's a great receiver. I actually had him on my dynasty roster, but I traded to one of my co-hosts actually because he was in a fire sale. And I needed running back help, so I was able to get him to come off McCaffrey and ETN for Addison and a draft pick. So, but not for nothing, I really enjoyed having Addison in my lineup. But what do you think, Leduc? Obviously, Justin Jefferson last year finished 2. His ADP is 2, is what I have. Addison finished 18th last season. His ADP currently is 30th. But I think that's more the suspension play coming into play. But what do you think? These guys higher or lower than ADP?
So I think both are pretty much right where they should be. And yeah, I agree. Like those are real simple. What I will say about the receivers here is, if you're in a deeper league or a dynasty league or whatever, and you had to choose between Jalen Naylor and Ty Felton, I'm taking Ty Felton because the team seems to like him. They're making a point to find a role for him on special teams. They're putting it out there publicly early that they're going to get him involved in the team. And he seems to be more of a natural slot guy than Jalen Naylor is. So if this offense and a rookie quarterback getting out there needs to find some comfort, sure, he's got TJ Hawkins for those short rows, but if he can have another rookie in the slot that can become a safety blanket for him, especially if Addison does miss a couple games and all of a sudden we got Felton getting involved early in the season. You never know what that momentum's going to build towards the rest of the season. It's worth a flyer on if you're talking like a 14-team league where you got a shit ton of guys on the bench. It's the type of guy I'd like to take a flyer on in this offense, especially.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, it's almost the same with you. I'm on St. Brown. What are we going to say about him? Jameson Williams, the same. He kind of really turned it on last season. So my question to you is, who is going to be that third guy? Is it Tim Patrick? Is there someone else we could be looking for? And do you think Amon and Jameson will finish kind of what they did last season?
Oh, man. Like Cleve Raymond, Tim Patrick, like it's hard to see how those two are going to go because in a 16-team league, you'll be starting one of those two. In a regular everyday fantasy league, if you're that desperate at wide receiver, then you'll be starting one of those guys. But I would give it to Tim Patrick as of right now, just because he seems like he has the upper hand as the wide receiver 3 on that offense. But like, I'm on Ross St. Brown, like blows my mind still because like, yeah, he finishes great in fantasy, but he only had 4 games over 100 yards last season.
Yeah.
And in those games that he finished, he was basically top 12. But outside those games where he didn't get over 100 yards, he was basically looking outside the top 12. He was basically, 15, as low as 72, as I have on Fantasy Pros right now from week 1. So he was definitely reliable on those targets and receptions. But 141 targets, you think you'd have a lot more receptions and a lot more yardage, but only had 115 receptions for 1,263 yards. So we love the slot guys. We love the PPR guys. I definitely could see him taking a step forward because I feel like he's going to be more of a safety blanket. I'm starting to, to be honest with you, I'm starting to fade on Jameson Williams. I feel like we're putting too much hype into Jameson Williams being at wide receiver 27. That's a high-end wide receiver 3. And to have that type of capability, you need him to hit every week. And would I love to see it happen? Absolutely. But I just don't see Jameson Williams being that week in and week out producer unless it's going to affect Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like something has to give in order for the other one to step up.
Well, it makes sense when we're starting with, we think Goff is going to regress a bit. So you would think that these receivers may regress a little as well. I do feel you, Ryan, because there are a lot of guys that in the fantasy community that people get hot on. I always say this example of J.K. fucking Dobbins. If I have to hear that name again, I'm going to go apeshit. I literally hated that guy since he came out because there was all this hype and all he does is get hurt, and I never understood it. But I've always been the kind of guy who loves the big play guys. So that's the attraction, of course, with Williams. I used to draft Percy Harvin every year. I mean, anybody who makes big plays, I was going for. CJ Spiller was another guy I always drafted for some reason. Was like hoping he
That's
did
ball,
that.
man. Like if you're in a best ball league, Jameson Williams is an easy smash. Like I'll take that all day long. So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about splitting my lineup. But he's on your bench. He puts up 60 points. You put him in the next week. He puts up 3.
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of boom or bust. But I was going to say that about St. Brown too. But he's not quite bust. But it's like either boom or average. Is what you're getting out of him. So all right, let's go on to the tight ends, man. These teams are stacked in the skill position. Yeah. Phil, let's talk about TJ Hawkinson. You brought it up last season. He finished 33rd, but coming back from the ACL. I've had the terrible triad, as they call it, in my right knee. And just going out to play anything, I was nervous. I can't imagine with all these huge men gunning for my legs how I would feel. So I can imagine that takes these guys some time. Right now, his current ADP is number 6. What do you think? How do you think he'll perform this year?
Well, looking at the 2 years before that, he finished 2nd and 4th before the ACL injury, obviously, and then finishing 4th 2 years ago, he missed 2 games, and that was at the end of the season. So could have. I think he was 2. Probably, I would imagine Kelsey was probably ahead of him at that point, but he was 1 or 2 for most of that season. I think another thing with young quarterbacks, you use that safety blanket a lot in the tight end. And I think he's just in for a big year. I think you had him at 6. I was going to say top 5, so it's maybe slightly better. But you look at the tight end list in the league, and it's after the top, it's pretty bad. You're really throwing a dart at the board. So yeah, I think top 5 for him for sure.
I like it. LeDuc, you concur?
Yeah, and I would also I feel like he could easily be, like you said, that top 3, top 5. It's so hard to put him ahead of Kelsey, Laporta, Kittle, McBride, or Bowers. Like that's why he's 6. It's just that company is rare. It is funny to me that Jonnu Smith is right now ADP 7 at tight end, right behind him. That's kind of funny. But no, I think I agree. Not much more to say. TJ Hawkins, big year, totally, all the reasons.
Yeah, Jonnu will definitely be dropping for sure. All right, Rob, what do you think, man? Sam Laporta, man, I felt like, everyone was kind of dogging him last year. Felt like he regressed, but he finished 6th overall. It's not like he had like a horrible season. His current ADP right now is 4th. What I have. What do you think?
How many times have you guys actually started Sam Laporta last season and was actually happy about it? Is a question I want to ask.
I didn't know him, so can't answer.
Yeah, like
I had him, not good.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Like his rookie season, he had what, 10 touchdowns?
Yeah,
if I remember right.
It was unreal.
Yeah, it was unreal as a rookie, and everyone was like, "Oh man, this is tight end 1." Yes, and then this past season, okay, he regressed a little bit in the touchdowns, went down to 7, but week in, week out, he wasn't a solid starter. He finished as tight end 8 overall. And to finish as tight end 8, that's like saying anyone from the range of tight end 6 to tight end 24 has a range to finish as a top 10 tight end, because all you need is touchdowns. Without the touchdowns, he only had 726 yards. Not great, Bob. Not great. So
I love it.
I'm not going to take him at tight end 4. I will pass on him at tight end 4 because if this offense, like as I said before, if I see this offense regressing, so like something has to give, and I still think Sam Laporta is going to regress also. So I think getting me at tight end 4, yeah, he might finish as tight end 4, but if you're drafting at tight end 4, did you really win at drafting it? No. But tight end 4 might also not be as high as we think it to be because it's such a onesie position. The difference between tight end 4 and tight end 10 could be 3 points.
Very, very true. Okay, let's get to the overall before we finish up our season predictions. Phil, what do you think? What's your finishing record? How far do you guys finish?
So a lot of things we've been saying on our podcast is, we went 14-3 last year. I think we made significant improvements on the offensive line, defensive line. Honestly, I think JJ is going to be just fine. I mean, you look at what Kevin O'Connell did with Sam Darnold, and he had a couple quarterbacks the year before too that just like, how are you winning any games with these guys? That being said, I think they'll be worse than 14-3. Like, it's hard to repeat 14 wins, even if you got better. I think they're a better team, but the record will be worse. I would probably say right around 11 wins. That's where I would be at.
The defense was a huge part early in the year last year too.
Right.
How far are we going in the playoffs is what I want to know.
Oh, man. Well, hey, if you want to hear something funny about Vikings history, every time we play the Ravens in a regular season, if we beat the Ravens, we go to the NFC Championship game, and if we lose, our coach gets fired. And I'm not making that up. That is a real thing. And I guess Ravens are on the schedule this year. So I guess this is what I'll say. KOC is not going anywhere. So I say I guess NFC Championship game. And maybe that's me being a little bit optimistic with the rookie quarterback, but they're going to be a good team. I think at least one win in the playoffs. I think it'll be a pretty successful season.
Well, that is a solid reason. That's solid research. I love that.
Yeah, that's not only solid, but that's why you watch TSS Fantasy in the summer, because we've given you the knowledge you need right there. I can't wait for that game to come up because I'm so gonna go back to this moment for sure. That's exciting. All right. Let's go. What do you think, Ryan? What do you finish? How far do you finish? And give me that record.
Oh, man. It's hard to say. Like, they're definitely going to take a step back. They said they had, Lions had the easiest schedule last season. And the strength of schedule, looking at it, right now for the upcoming season, it's so tough to calibrate and say, like, yeah, they're going to win the many games, that many games. But I want to say it was set at 10.5. And I actually think the Lions can actually win 10 games. I think they'll go 10-7 this year. I think it's going to be a slight step back, but more of a challenge for them to develop and come in as a team. And I'm not knocking them. Let's look at Kansas City. They were a 10-win team, and they went to the Super Bowl. So, there's still capabilities. The Lions still have the nucleus to build. They have the nucleus built there to actually go further in the playoffs. They're going to take a step back. People are going to get upset. I understand that. But it's going to happen. Like, we have to understand that, game tape comes out, teams adjust to you, defenses adjust to you, they figure you out. Like, you can't go in year out being a dominant team. They're going to figure you out. They're going to take a step back, and it's going to be fine. But I still think we'll beat the Vikings both times.
There it is. We finally got a little bit of fire between you guys.
You picked the wrong two teams though. Like we do get a little back and forth, but I mean, I think we can just agree that we hate the Packers. Like if it was Vikings,
fuck the Packers.
Monday night show was a lot more hateful.
Yeah, if he was a Packers fan, there would be a lot more going back. We refer to the Packers as swine on our podcast. So
yeah,
we don't even say their name. So
I'm going to be nice to you because you have JJ McCarthy. He's a Michigan quarterback. I have a Michigan shirt on, so it's kind of hard to knock the guy. I liked him. My son likes him. He actually met him, so he's super huge fan. I like him as a quarterback. I just wish he didn't play for the Vikings.
Yeah, it's one of those things we try to set up all of our shows this year for rivalries, but it's hard to not have the Packers and the Bears as the rivalry. Yeah. So my bad on that, but at least we got some interdivision stuff going on here. At least
that's an old rivalry though, right? I mean, they have owned the Bears. The Bears haven't been anything forever, so I mean,
I feel it.
And they still won't be.
Nope.
It's funny you say that because at first that's how I originally started doing that with the teams that were good now. But one of my other co-hosts was like, "Hey, we should have Cowboys Redskins." I was like, "But the Cowboys and Redskins ain't been a rivalry in I don't know how long." So you know what I mean. But it's old school and it's fun. So whatever. Just roll with it.
All right. Real fast, super quick, Jason. The DraftKings, the Vikings to make the conference championship plus 1,400, to make the Super Bowl plus 3,000. Based on your research, that's a bet I'm going to make.
Ooh, that's solid. I like that. All right.
Hey, and in my lifetime, we've been to the conference championship 5 times, 4 that I remember very vividly, and we never go any further. So,
listen, as a fan of America's team, the Miami Dolphins, I don't want to hear shit. We haven't done nothing in I don't know how long. So please,
and yet you still strut.
That's all I got. What do you want? What can I do? All right. So before we get on to our next segment, we got one other percent to the bench from our boy, the Injury List podcast. Brian's going to do his percent to the bench for the Vikings. And you'll notice really quickly, unfortunately, I couldn't join him, and he's not much of a producer. So we'll check that out.
All right, we're back This time for the Minnesota Vikings percent to bench, and I've been waiting a while to do this. Next player, J.J. McCarthy. He missed the entire 2024 rookie season after he tore his meniscus in the preseason. He was fully cleared and took part in OTAs, minicamp, and spring practices. Coaches are very comfortable with his spring progress. They actually were pushing him quite a bit during some of the drills to test his physical readiness. But, the mental readiness is going to be just as big a question this season, as he is already going to be named the QB1 and be the starter week 1. So we will have to see how he holds up. Now, given the fact that he had a meniscal injury and subsequent repair, this, folks, is not good. I'm going to have to go to the steam pump generator, percent to bench generator, to see what kind of score we have. Up, going to have to give him a 30% chance to the bench. And the reason being that meniscal injuries and repairs are not a guarantee, folks. And despite the promising news, it won't take much to cause a re-injury to that structure. Hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully he can have a successful, healthy season and career as we move forward, but that is always going to be in the back of my mind anyway. At the running back position, next up is Aaron Jones. He had a quad injury late in the 2024 season, but returned pretty quick, had a couple of bumps and bruises, but didn't miss much time otherwise. He just got re-signed for a 2-year deal in March, and he's had a healthy offseason thus far. There is no current issues. We're giving him a 10% to the bench score. And then finally, TJ Hawkinson. He's coming off a major injury back in 2023. He tore his ACL and MCL, had reconstructive surgery. He did make a return in 2024 late in the season after starting on the PUP list. He's now kind of getting close to that 2-year mark coming off that ACL, MCL. So that's usually when players can kind of start getting back to their near healthy selves prior to the injury. I'm going to give him a 20% score to the bench. He's not quite at that 2-year mark, but the closer he can get there, the better off he'll be. Ladies and gentlemen, Injured List Podcast, Brian Scott, your host. Thanks for tuning in to the Percent to Bench. Back to Commissioner Coop and TSS.
All right, I spared you watching Brian trying to turn that recording off. So, but Brian, we love you. We're going to get that steampunk generator going next week.
I was terrified. Whenever it said 85%, I was like, holy shit.
I said the same thing. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he didn't look that bad when I saw him. He wasn't limping. So
I told him prior, I do have the video now, and I just said, send me your percentages so I can actually put them in there. Brian, we love you, man. We appreciate your efforts as always.
Yes,
all right, fellas, you may not have had a rivalry before, but you're going to have one now right here on TSS Fantasy. We're going to put your knowledge to the test, mano y mano, and a little game we like to call the Fantasy Quiz Show. Let's go.
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life.
It's the Fantasy Quiz Show.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. It's going to be a long game. As always, Brad, nice shout out to you, my friend. All right, let's get it on again, Family Feud style. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Top 5 answers will be on the board. Shout out your answers on the first one. And if you get one correct and first, you will have control of the round. You can, if you get all the questions right, you win the round. You have 3 strikes, which means 3 wrong answers. If you get to that, your opponent will get a chance to steal the round. So let's get it on. First question on the board. This one should be somewhat of a layup. We shall see. All-time history, and this is just Lions and Vikings. Top 5 answers on the board. I'm looking for the person or the players who have thrown the most passing yards in team history.
Matt Stafford.
Oh, shit.
Wow. 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 You're the judge. I mean, I don't even know. Let's just...
Phil started first and Ryan ended first, if that makes any sense. So
right,
I want to give it to Phil.
That is correct.
So we're going to give it to Phil? Okay.
That is correct.
Damn, again, I'm getting screwed.
Phil like stepbrothers right now, you know.
Did the sound
favorite now pornographic magazine to jack off to? You know,
They're gonna do Kung Fu in the garage later. All right, let's go. You got control, Phil. What's your next answer?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think there's a whole lot of Lions on this list, so I'm gonna go straight Vikings. I know Stafford is probably the top one. I'm gonna go Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Is the sound playing for you?
Yeah,
I hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not hearing it. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Sorry, I hit it like 6 times last time.
Oh, I thought you were trying to give them both points. That's all.
No, I can't hear it for some reason.
No, you're good. Matthew Stafford, by the way, is number 1 on the list, 45,109. Kirk Cousins comes in at number 4 on this list, 23,265. Okay, what else you got, Phil?
I got to go a little bit old school here. There's going to be a couple I feel like from back in the day. Fran Tarkenton.
Fran Tarkenton. Awesome. Number 2 on the list, 33,098. Okay, you got no strikes, and you got only 2 answers remaining. The number 3 and number 5.
Well, Dante Culpepper's got to be on here somewhere, I would imagine. He was only here for a short time, but
that is correct.
He is. He made it 5th on this list. 20,162.
I'm so sorry, Ryan.
Where are these damn Bears at? All right, so you got no strikes and you got 1 answer left. Can you name?
I'm gonna stick with my Vikes. I'm gonna go Warren Moon.
Warren Moon. Which is surprising, but of course, with all that time in the Canadian League, man, if he could have just had his whole career in the NFL, we'd been talking about his records being broken. All right, so just 1 strike. What else? What's your next guess?
I gotta go somebody that has a little more longevity. The thing you guys might not know about Vikings is we don't have JJ McCarthy's that often. We have a lot of Brett Favre's and Cunningham, stuff like that. So another guy was here for a little bit. I'll go with Tommy Kramer.
Tommy Kramer. He nailed almost a clean sweep on that one. Yeah, wow. I believe the next guy for the Bears was 6th or 7th, and that was, I believe, Smoking Jay Cutler, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the damn list now. So, wait a minute. I'm on the Lions. What the hell am I talking about? I'm on the wrong teams already. I don't even know who the hell. All right, here we go. Phil is up 1-0. So let's get to the second question on the list. Between both your teams, I'm looking for the players who have the most rushing yards.
Adrian Peterson.
Ryan wanted to make sure Phil didn't get that one in. Adrian Peterson is number 2 on this list, 11,747. All right, Ryan, you got the control around. What else you got?
For another running back?
Yes, sir.
Dalvin Cook?
Dalvin Cook.
That is correct.
He is number 4 on this list, 5,993. All right, what else you got?
Oh, my God. I'm struggling at running back now. Who else was there?
Well, it's both teams, remember, so.
I thought I tried to figure out for
trying to
Vikings.
cock Phil.
Yeah. Billy Sims.
Who was it?
What did you say?
Billy Sims, the other number 20.
Billy Sims.
First strike.
All right, 1 strike on the board. 3 answers remaining.
I can go out. All right, I'll go the obvious one. Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. Starting to get a little worried there, Ryan. Barry Sanders. I thought you were going to blurt out Barry Sanders, numero 1 on this list, 15,269. All right, you're missing number 4 and number 5, or sorry, number 3 and number 5, and you only have 1 strike.
Oh. There are going to be no-name running backs. That's all I know. And I'm trying to remember those no-name running backs. my god. He's an early late. He's a '90s running back. Robert Smith.
Robert Smith.
Nice pull.
Yeah, I remember Robert Smith for sure. Number 3 on this list, 6,818. All right, you got one remaining answer out there. He's number 5 on this list and still just that one strike. So let's see if you can grab him.
Oh, God dang it, I don't know. I can't say it. It can't be. No, it won't be him.
Guess we won't know.
No, it won't know. I feel like saying like James Stewart, but it's not James. I feel like it's not James Stewart, but I'll go James Stewart because I know it's not him, but I won't be able to figure out the last guy.
James Stewart.
Yeah. I
All right,
guarantee it's probably the Vikings.
You got one more strike. One more.
Chuck Foreman?
Chuck Foreman! The buzzer. He nails it. Chuck Foreman, 5th on this list, 5,887. Nice
that was
grab.
the last second guess.
Great. Nice grab. All right. Speaking of grabs, let's go to number 3 question, and third question on this list. Again, between both teams, I'm looking for top 5 answers. I'm looking for the players who have the most receiving yards.
Calvin Johnson.
What'd you get there, Judge?
I think it was Ryan. I honestly wasn't looking at their mouths. I could only hear.
Judge, that's your job because I'm staring at the sheet. So,
all right.
Making
sure I was covered on the right button.
So I heard 2 answers, but what did you answer, Ryan?
Calvin Johnson.
That's
Calvin
what I heard
Johnson.
first. Okay.
He's number 2 on this list, 11,619. All right, Ryan. Well, you got control of the round. What else you got?
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter.
That is correct.
Number
Randy
1.
Moss.
Oh, he's just gonna. Okay.
He's ready. You got Randy Moss. Randy Moss is correct, and Chris Carter is correct. Chris Carter, number 1 with 12,383. Randy Moss, 9,316. Okay, you got 4 and 5 remaining. No strikes.
Herman Moore.
Herman Moore. Number 4 on the list, 9,174. Now you got 3 opportunities to get this last one. Let's see if you can get it.
Johnny Morton.
Johnny Morton. Ooh, a little salt in that one. All right, so you got 2 guesses remaining.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
I think he's up there.
He actually is up there, by the way. It was something I noted when I was doing this. He's about like 30 yards away from being in this list here. So there you go. It was a good guess. He'll definitely be doing this year.
Can I phone a friend?
No phone a friend on this game. Let's see if you can do it with all that brain you got up there. Let's go. What do you got? Last.
Dude, it's hurting right now. It's hurting. Anthony Carter?
Carter, was he Googling over there? Ryan say, you ain't getting me this time. I got Dr. Google up in this bitch. Anthony Carter was number 5 on this list.
I guessed it because I was like, I know it's a Carter name. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with, I almost said Andre Carter.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, I'm going to say Anthony Carter. So
the judge would have probably accepted that. Who knows? All right, so 7,636. He is number 5 on this list. All right, so it's 2-1 going into this round. So Phil, you need to get this so you don't lose, and take it to the tie-breaking round. All right, so top 5 answers on the board. Here is your question. Between both teams, I'm looking for the players who have scored the most touchdowns all time.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter.
Yeah, that was definitely Phil first.
All he does is catch touchdowns,
Yeah.
110. So he's number one on this list. All right, what else you got?
Can I ask a question? Do these have quarterbacks? And is this any player?
Yeah, no, it's not quarterback. It's when scoring, like actually cross the goal line, like
Okay,
not
gotcha. Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson,
That is correct.
number 3 on this list with 102. All right, what else you got?
Kelvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson. 84 touchdowns for Megatron. He's number 5 on this list. All right, what else you got?
Gosh. Well, let's go Randy Moss.
Randy Moss. He's number 4 with 93. So you're missing the number 2 answer on the board with no strikes.
Ooh.
What did I miss? Barry Sanders. Did I say
Barry
name it?
Damn it, Phil.
Hold on, I gotta get.
Ooh, a clean sweep of that one. I got to make that question a little harder, man. But between these two teams, it was pretty obvious who these guys were.
Yeah.
Great job, Phil. This is the first time this season we've gone to the 5th round, so this is great. This is a tiebreaker question. There are no 5 answers. It's just one answer on this list. And whoever says it first gets it. I want to know, between both teams, who owns the all-time series between the two teams?
Vikings.
Detroit.
Well, go ahead. Vikings is correct. Actually, they lead this series 80, 45, and 2. So congratulations, Phil. You are tonight's winner.
Good battle, man. Good battle.
It was. Oh my God.
All right, the judge was a tad late on that. No big deal. But Ryan, I got this one, Ledoux. Ryan, my friend, I'm sorry. What is this back-to-back years? I can't remember.
I might be looking for a 3-peat next year.
Oh my God. I'm sorry to say, my friend, you have earned your reward for losing once again on TSS.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Dumbass. Dang these. Dumbass.
Damn.
I'm gonna cheer behind the camera every single time we play that.
I saw you.
Yeah, I suppose.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys coming on. Ryan, before we check out, let everyone know where they can follow, subscribe, and get all your great content, my friend.
You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMiner_FFB. You can follow my content still on Faceoff Sports Network at fffaceoff.com. Love the memory of Anthony Servino. And sometimes you can find me on Facebook, as Jason has too, on Facebook. Hit me up on Messenger when I don't reply to something on Twitter. So find me, Ryan Miner.
That's the quickest way. When I'm like, oh no, I got to make sure he's coming on.
Yeah, he didn't reply on my Twitter. What do I do?
Well, the funny thing was, I kept checking last night, and you know how it says when you've seen it, and it just still said sent, and I was going like, oh my god, what are we gonna do?
Like that son of a bitch. He ghosted me.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate you as always. Yeah, and my thoughts and prayers, of course, with Anthony Servino's family as well. Nice shout out there to you and to him, his. I can't even say it. You know what I mean. Phil, where can we follow, subscribe, and get all your great content, my friend?
Yeah, so we do a podcast. It's all basically Minnesota sports, heavy Vikings, heavy Timberwolves. You can follow it. Please Understand podcast pretty much anywhere. Twitter, TikTok. That's kind of like where we generate most of our stuff. That's pretty much it.
Well, go follow, subscribe, get all of Phil's great content as well. Happy 4th to you both. Good luck to your teams this season as well. And happy 4th to you and yours, guys. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We'll see. Stick and stay here. We'll see you next week. We'll be covering the AFC East and America's team, the Miami Dolphins. So here we go. Thank you again. Happy 4th to you all. And we appreciate you. And we are out.